What is the purpose of your life? Like, the real purpose. Don't answer that with your job title, or how much is in your bank account, or how good of a provider you think you are. I want the real answer, because for years, I didn't have one myself, or I didn't realize what it really was. On Father's Day last week, I got this book when I attended church. Gospel-Centered Fatherhood, along with the bookmark that my daughter made me. So in this video, I'm going to go over what I read in the first page of this book and how it pertains to me and how it might pertain to you in your life, to find out what really makes a godly man. And stick with me to the end, because the questions that this passage poses can truly be life-changing. So let me give you some context. This book was kind of an answered prayer, because I've really gone through so many changes over the past few years within myself, with my family life, with my career, with my direction. And I've really encapsulated myself more in God's Word every single day. I've always been a Christian, but in recent years I've really come to it a lot closer. I never really understood the extent of what it means to be a devoted Christian. I don't believe anything happens by accident. I believe we're all here for a divine purpose. We're all here for a bigger meaning. But I also believe that most people don't realize that A, that they have a bigger meaning, and B, what that meaning is. So I think I'm finally at the cusp of truly figuring it out. And I've made videos about this before in the past. This is one of those questions that proves and continues to be one of the harder questions to ask myself. But it's getting easier and easier to answer. So the passage in this book I'm going to be referencing today is called A Man's Highest Calling. And it gives some scriptures, and this is something that I think is pretty interesting. It gives a target, a visual of a target, and think of a man. The circles are the different hats that every man has to wear in their life, whether it be one of them is job, one of them is family, one of them is self-care. The one in the center is the main purpose. So what it basically asks the question, what is the center of your target? What is your essence, the purpose of who you are meant to be? Now I'm going to tell you what this book says belongs in there, but first I'm going to tell you what I put. Some added context here. I've been a Christian my entire life, but I never understood what it truly means to be a Christian. I got baptized 2 years ago and fully immersed myself in the gospel, gave my life to Jesus, and everything just got better. Everything changed. It's when I just gave all of myself and committed to having a real relationship with God. That's when life started to change. But before that happened, I didn't really have a straight answer to the what's my purpose question. I never really figured it out. And like I said, most people don't. It's not this simple thing. Purpose is such a loaded topic. And if you look on YouTube or anywhere else in life, it's one of those super saturated things that people talk about endlessly. So before now, I didn't really have an answer to the question of what is your purpose. In fact, if you ask my wife a couple years ago, basically my wife would ask me what I wanted to do with my life. And my response would be, I just want to make it. And basically what that response meant was I wanted to be like everyone else. I wanted to work a 9 to 5. I wanted to make minimum, trade time for money, just get by. One, that's no way to live. And two, what does that even mean? Getting by. We get one life. And I quickly realized, actually not even quickly, it took me years to realize that there's no way to live. That's living in survival mode. And I've lived in survival mode for far too long. It was such a generic cop-out answer. It wasn't even hitting like a goal number or a certain revenue number of how much I wanted to make, or like as a provider for my family. Heck, even my health goals or my career goals were bland. First of all, I didn't even know what I wanted to do exactly with my life. I just wanted a job that would make ends meet. I had no real health goals. I had no real drive or ambition. I've been a personal trainer since 2015, and now I have real goals, which I'll get into later on in the video. But at that point, it was just paying the bills, rinse and repeat, and just making it through in survival. It's actually crazy how different I am as a person from then to now. If everything I just talked about is what my purpose actually depended on, it was looking to be a pretty bleak future. I would really figure out later that measuring my purpose on my career, my money, and my performance and my works was such an insufficient and incorrect way to look at it compared to real things like my integrity, my honesty, and things I sacrificed to become a better man. All things that I'm going to go into more detail on in a few minutes. So at this point, you're probably wondering, what exactly does this passage say that the answer to that question is? What makes a God-made man? And the answer is simple. It's to glorify God. And that, honestly, is the right answer. Both a simple and complex answer. Genesis 1:26 and 27 says that we were made in God's image. We were made in His likeness, and to have dominion over all the fish of the sea and all the fowl of the air. And even before this book, that is something I truly think about, is how can I be more like Jesus? How could I be more like our design? 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, whatever ye do, do all to the glory of God. And that's glorifying God through your career, your family, and yourself. That all comes together and gives you the real answer to this deep question. So what do I consider my purpose to be? My rings, my targets? Right off the bat, I'd have to say my outer ring is my career. So when it comes to your career, it's finding that meaning, finding that deeper reason for being here. And for me, it's helping people lose weight. It's watching people I loved and cared about, like my parents growing up, struggle with their weight and struggle with their weight loss journey. And then now I get to help others online, in person, do what they want to do to get to their health goals. Then if I go towards my inner rings, the next one is my family. It's being the most present and supportive husband I could be, most present and supportive father I could be. And then I keep going more towards the self ring, and that's all about glorifying myself to live a godly life. And that's living in the way that God intended, treating others like I want to be treated, not cheating others, not lying, having integrity, having honor, being honest, steering clear of drugs and alcohol, being a positive example for my daughter, being a positive example for others around me, prioritizing my health. And if you're not sure what your purpose is, just pay attention what you do day to day. We only know what we know, right? Something I always knew from a young age was that I was going to be a husband and I was going to be a father. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I always knew that deep down. We all want something at some point in our life. It's just the path of obtaining what we really want is different for all of us. Nobody ever told me the man I was supposed to be. It was all small decisions that changed and added up over the years. I've learned over the years from being humbled. I've learned over the years from doing things that didn't help me at all, like playing video games, like doing time-wasting things all day long, binging certain shows and whatnot. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I don't judge you or hold anything against you if that's you, but I've realized if I wanted to do the best work in my life, if I wanted to make the biggest impact, I had to follow God's will. And all I'm saying is that got louder and louder the more I was willing to listen. The way I see it, God has always been there in my life. And in return, the very least I can do is do right by people the best way I can. And that's by having integrity and not lying and not stealing, even if it's the smallest thing, and nobody would know. It's living by a moral code. It's living by higher standards. It's not being influenced by everything in the media and all the negative forces out there, all the toxicity on the internet, all the porn. That's something I gave up, not giving into lust. 5 years ago, I gave up porn, cold turkey. Why? Because after watching it for so many years, it didn't make me feel any better after. It made me feel so much worse. It just made everything worse. It manifested in my brain, and it just drained me, physically, mentally, spiritually. It made me feel lost. It made me feel depressed. It amplified my anxiety. It made me feel small, especially as a man. So the point is, sometimes giving up something that you've been doing for a while is the best thing for you. And that all happens one habit at a time. In short, to summarize everything, a man's highest calling, which is what the passage is labeled here, is to love. Love your family, love your neighbors, love your enemies. If everybody had that mindset, this world would be an infinite better place. It would be like we were back in Eden. So with all this said, I want you to try this for yourself. Make 3 or 4 rings, like a target, and label them. What have you considered the real purpose of your life to be, and how has that affected your time, your money, and your relationships? Answer it truthfully. Put it in the comments. What is your calling? John chapter 12, 27 to 28 says, "Now my soul is troubled. What should I say? Father, save me from this hour. But this is why I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. This is saying the ultimate purpose of Jesus' life was to glorify God. And we were made for that same purpose. And that's the whole point of this video. To reflect on him on all we do and get glory through him forever. That is the highest calling of a man. And a big way, really one of the only ways to do that, is to be in optimal health. If you want to learn more about working one-on-one with me, first link is in the description below. I'd love to take a good look at what your health goals are and see if we're a good fit to work together. If any part of this video resonated with you at all, make sure you hit the like button because it's going to show it to more like-minded, God-loving Christian men who need it. And if you like this video, check out this one right here where I talk about the perfectionism pattern that Christian dads can't escape. I'll see you in the next one.